What's happening, Brain Nutrition Legends? This is the audio version of my free ebook, Brain Nutrition Revolution, The Basics. And in this, we go through 4 areas of brain nutrition, which we refer to as ticking the 4 boxes, which is gut health, eating the right fats, removing trigger foods, and lowering inflammation. With the idea being, if you tick these 4 boxes, then you tick the overall box of brain nutrition. And by doing this, you can improve brain performance and mental health issues significantly, and also lower the risk of elderly cognitive decline issues such as dementia and Alzheimer's. So this is the full audiobook version of my free ebook, Brain Nutrition Revolution, The Basics. Let's get into it. Why we should eat for the brain. Brain Nutrition Revolution is all about eating for the brain, for helping make existing mental health issues more manageable, improving brain performance, and hopefully lowering chances of future brain diseases such as Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and elderly cognitive decline issues we all face more and more in the modern day, in a world full of toxins that harm the brain. The brain takes a beating day to day in the modern world, so be mindful of how to eat for it in the best way is something we should all think about with most of our meals, because surely how we feel mentally day to day and our emotional state or clarity and sharpness of thoughts and interaction with our surroundings and perception of reality, as well as our memory and recall of the things we have learnt and experienced in the past, should be priority. And if we can refuel with food that is better for all of the above, then this should be the goal with most of our meals. When you eat for the brain, you give it the best chance of being well, and it can improve mental health conditions massively for some. And small diet changes can make huge differences in the life of someone with mental health issues. And sometimes it's a sensitivity or deficiency that is triggering the severe part of the condition and making it worse. With one example being the introduction of gluten on schizophrenics, who are said to be 6 times more likely to be gluten sensitive than people without the condition. And for those that it can make a life-changing difference and make the condition more manageable. Brain nutrition is about researching and trying things for yourself, seeing how parts of it work for you, and trusting your own evidence and how it makes you feel mentally after trying it, and then knowing yourself and how you feel compared to how you felt before, and then you can decide if it's for you or not going forward, knowing that you tried. Trust the evidence. How to eat for the brain and the concept of ticking the 4 boxes. Brain nutrition is about keeping to the basics, as that's what's most needed for the majority of people. And brain nutrition doesn't have to be complicated or a complete diet change, and can be a case of making a few adjustments, or even sometimes just one change to existing diets, finding benefits and taking what parts of it work for you, and not keeping with the parts that don't. So to keep it simple, we concentrate on 4 areas of brain nutrition to try that we think are the basics, most acknowledged by science and non-controversial, and a good foundation for good brain nutrition for most people, and refer to these as the 4 boxes to tick. And these are improving gut health, eating enough fats, removing trigger foods, and reducing inflammation. Each one of these has been shown can have an impact on the brain as discussed above, and good brain nutrition and maintenance is mostly a case of ticking these boxes for the foundation to a good brain health. And to look at it another way, if you do the opposite to these, then brain health may suffer. Box 1. Improving gut health. One of the most accepted and known about interactions between what we eat in the brain and the one most people know about is gut health, and that improving it can have a beneficial effect on the brain. The gut and the brain communicate through various pathways, with the main one being the vagus nerve that runs through the body, through your spine, between the two sharing messages both ways. About 90% of the body's serotonin, a key player in mood regulation and how happy we feel, is made in the gut by specialised cells influenced by gut bacteria. Gut bacteria can influence the production of compounds that the brain turns into dopamine, affecting motivation and reward. These are just a few of the many interactions between the gut and the brain that are now acknowledged by science, but the basics of it is that a happy gut equals a happy brain, and the best way to achieve this is by eating foods that are beneficial to the gut in various quantities, and also removing foods that are negative. Top 10 gut-friendly ingredients. Get as much of these in a diet as possible. Basil seeds, avocados, blueberries, live probiotic yogurt, fermented veg, garlic, onions, regimes, and kefir. The top 10 negative ingredients to remove for gut health: antibiotics, refined grains, alcohol, seed oils, excessive dairy, fizzy drinks and energy drinks, margarine, instant noodles, crisps and potato chips. So the basics are a case of eating as many of the gut-friendly foods as you can, with variety being the key, and being mindful of and avoiding the negative as much as possible, and treating these foods as rare treats rather than foods eaten regularly. Box number 2, eating enough good fats. The brain is made up from 60% fat, so we need it in our diet to keep the brain functioning smoothly and keep it lubricated, well oiled, and supple. And if you don't get enough good fats, and in particular DHA and EPA omega 3, then your brain health and performance can suffer. Fats are critical for maintaining brain cell structure, supporting communication between neurons, and reducing inflammation. Good fats also strengthen the blood-brain barrier, which enters the brain. Omega 3s, for example, keep it intact, while bad fats like trans fats weaken it. Fats like omega 3s help produce and regulate neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine that control mood and cognition. DHA, for instance, supports serotonin receptor activity. Without enough dietary fats, especially the good ones like omega 3 and monounsaturated fats, the brain cell membranes can get stiff and less fluid. Those membranes are made of lipids, and they need to stay fat and flexible for proper signaling and repair. Studies show that low fat intake over time can mess with myelin, the fatty sheath around nerves, making it less effective, which could slow down brain function. So the basics of this box is you need to get enough of the good fats in your diet for good brain health. But luckily enough, it's very easy to do when you know how, and it's a and as is most of the brain nutrition, and it's just a case of learning what fats are good for the brain and what foods and ingredients contain them, including enough of them in our existing diets, and that's it really. An extreme diet change is not needed when it comes to getting enough of the foods with the right fats, and simply being mindful of including them often. And this is enough for most of us to tick this box. Top foods with good fats: avocados, wild fish, grass-fed beef, seeds, especially basil seeds, flax seeds, and hemp seeds, nuts, walnuts, pistachios, and almonds, coconut, olives, eggs, grass-fed butter, and ceremonial grade cacao. Box number 3, removing trigger foods. This part of brain nutrition revolution is perhaps the hardest, but most important, and can be opening a Pandora's box for many, and it basically involves challenging what foods may be affecting your brain in a negative way by testing trial removal of the main culprit foods known to cause issues, as well as testing trial removal of foods that have been proven to be triggers for some of us with sensitivities. We look at foods that should be removed or reduced to enable and encourage the ticking of the other 3 boxes good for brain health. The removal of trigger foods is very much the foundation to good brain health, and often a lot of the damage to our brains is done by the influence of these negative foods in our diet, chipping away at our cognitive health without us even knowing most of the time that it may be an issue, and that we are living our lives affected in this way mentally by these foods, whether it results in worse mental health, brain fog, or increased risk of elderly cognitive decline diseases. With the trigger foods, we recommend trial removal, and the list of these foods are processed seed oils, processed high carb foods like cereals, bread, rice, pasta, pastry, and noodles, high processed sugar containing foods like biscuits, cakes, sweets, candy bars, and table sauces, soda drinks, energy drinks, artificial sweeteners, alcohol, fried foods, large amounts of high lectin foods, processed meats, and peanuts. This has been part 1. Check out part 2, which is pinned to my profile.